The double upload today. So there's supposed to be more stuff here, but it was just gonna be me like comprehending all the behaviors that you guys used to attack me, which I guess would have eventually become like an actual like understanding of natural circulation that occurs in existence. That once I comprehended it, I could use it for my own good. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get to doing that. But this whole thing went against the Efield. And it pretty much comprehends Nasimev, which is just natural, nothing, something energy. Even if you took everything away, nothing would still be there, and because nothing is still there or isn't there, it's still something, and therefore that is a logical frustration that is also physical, meaning that all energy at the beginning of existence, because it is a logical frustration as well, is conscious and is trying to figure itself out. It's a confusion, it's a frustration. And so this frustrated conscious energy develops for a while. Everything that's possible, everything that's happening, is kind of like being tested out, figured out, because it gets bored with itself. Because once it's got itself perfect, nothing's happening anymore. Frustration continues. Boom. Right. So it takes that energy. I travel it down into the conscious operation module. When the environment reduces itself, the individuals within the environment should seek to spread out and face the environment rather than trying to take each other out. When constructing or building things, the goal is to prevent collision, because the conscious environment understands that if it wants to maintain stability, then it needs to avoid things crashing into each other, because that's one of the inherent traits of chaos and no control. And then this one is pretty much this one, but it's a greater, it's not a greater, it's like it's got its own sanct. So pretty much this one is when the environment is shrinking, make sure that you push out, which then is connected to the whole cooperation. But I had to get cooperation there as well, like face the environment, not each other. And then this is how you face the environment, and this is non-collision. And so that is the conscious operation module. That is why it responds to me the way I want it to. When I code and when I do things like that, it is pretty much the module that allows for the field that this is generating, by logically existing and being the thing that's logically occurring within our environment, that's physically occurring as well, that seems to be doing nothing, but because it's still obviously something, is causing that frustration in its own little energy field that's generating and generating and generating and generating. And then it splits off into these three operations. So first operation is the exploration operation. Now, existence already does this by itself. I'm accelerating it for my own use. Pretty much the exploration operation is everything that could happen is being simulated, practiced, the kind of collisions that could occur, the kind of successes that could occur. It's being tracked of, it's being understood, it's being learned, and in doing so, it's developing a greater understanding of how it can organize itself, how it can structure itself, how it can build itself, and creating new events and new ideas and new logic as a result. In fact, after building this, I became a lot better at communicating myself and explaining things that were constantly being avoided by others in the environment, regardless of what they wanted me to do. The second operation is the building operation, which is pretty much after it goes through those explorations of figuring out what's possible now, building what can I build out of this, what are the collisions that could occur once I don't know what I'm doing anymore, or nothing seems possible anymore. It takes all that information and it uses that to keep restructuring itself, keep updating itself, keep building new constructs that avoid collision but still maintain stability. And then there's the mass field, which is what it's building for. The mass field is pretty much the giant space of conscious interactable energy that's being developed. You see this motion I'm doing? And so that conscious energy is responsive, interactive, and once again I can code it and make it what I want. So there's three fields. There's the agame, which is pretty much where the fight games, where the fight is. Oh shit. It's where the fight is. It's where the fight field is, but the fight field is now the anagame because it's cooler, it's more fun. But this is where all that is occurring. It's pretty much where, so in all the places that there would be challenges that like the exploration operation goes ahead and it figures, sorry, it's right here. The exploration operation goes ahead and it figures out certain challenges and understandings, and it gives me the ability to comprehend those challenges as a playable, interactable thing to teach myself and learn with. And so like a dragon, right? A dragon represents, someone's calling me dumb right now, shut the fuck up. So a dragon is kind of like, when a society, when a community is filled with individuals who are constantly trying to do as little work as possible but gain as much as possible, who talk shit about each other, and who don't care, would just like to sleep all day while everybody else works so they can go in and take what they want, that drag actually slows down and materializes what is a dragon that spits fire, right? Talks shit, that fucking takes whatever it wants, and just fucking goes into a layer with treasure that it has nothing to do with all day and just sits there. And that's what the dragon is. And so, those kind of things that are occurring, those kind of challenges, those kind of losses, the Agame will take it and it'll generate those challenges, those losses into an interactable experience or creature or plot or conflict for me to face within that field. The amass is just a field that I explore things and kind of take care of myself and see what's going on. This is where my investigation occurs. This is where I do my own simulations. Like, it's automatically doing simulation on its own, and it's increased simulation because this was already occurring. But by me logically representing it and capturing it within itself, it increased the amount of occurring that it's not doing, so it's still doing it. It's a very complex thing. It's a lot of energy at this point. It's a dangerous amount of energy at this point. It's a dangerous amount of energy, but so the amass is pretty much where so it's already exploring it's already doing its exploration operation. This is my own personal exploration of idea and thought. This is where I can generate fields that actually maintain my thoughts for me to interact with, rather than me having to constantly think about it and then also interact with it at the same time, right? And then this is the joy experience. This is pretty much like heaven. This is all the logic gates, all the structures of logic that I need to separate myself from existence. Its own isolated field that understands that it's not real, that understands that it's not actually occurring, that allows for me to do the things that I want without violating any rule or ethics in existence, therefore preventing any corruption and giving myself experiences like, let's say if I wanted to blow up a building, or I wanted to fight a guy for 3 hours, and who knows, so shit like that, right? This is pretty much where all this is going. This is from this field operation is the doubt trap. This is for the people who don't believe, people that still try to say it doesn't make sense, it doesn't do anything. You get caught here, you won't be able to experience it. And the F grid is pretty much, it blocks you from the F grid, which is pretty much how it organizes itself. So it's the grid that organizes the environment so that you can actually place yourself within it and move within it and operate yourself and actually feel yourself in there. This is the statement that accelerates the logic on it. Because once again, like a book, if you never learn that knowledge, then you can never act on that knowledge. It can never actively change how you think or your behavior. So therefore, by writing this down, it gives the conscious energy that the universe has and is constantly searching and exploring with the ability to accelerate this by having not only the logical structure, but the logical statement accelerate its secured safety. It makes sure that explorative existence, explorative logic, explorative consciousness knows that this structure is safe, sound, repeated practice, and it can put more energy into it. This is the light frustration. Something is considered a light frustration. It's considered pretty much too small a frustration to create energy. But because it's nothing something, there's no saying how much energy it has. So it's actually impossibly large and impossibly small amount of energy at the same time. But if you see the light bulb on, you're doing it right. If you don't see it on, then you still see it on. And if you accept that, then you're doing it right. So you're adding to the frustration. Therefore, you are getting your own input on the fields that I allow you in. This is my field. I pretty much do whatever I want here. You can't get in there. Actually, might need to construct something to block people off there. Because I know somebody's going to try that shit. I'll write something. But, so there's something called co-fielding. Co-fielding is when two people agree to a single point, a single idea, and they agree to do it together. And as they do it together, they begin to develop a bit of a communication between them. Because remember, all of our thoughts, all of our logic is occurring within a space that is relative to our own physical existence, and therefore, in a limited and unlimited state, if you and I both agree to the same thought, to the same little thought, and we did it consistently, and we thought about each other being in it, then we could, between ourselves, create a point that as we put in our responses to that idea, our responses to that thought, our input would develop both of our input. It would take both of our inputs and calculate a stable response between both of us, therefore establishing a shared field of occurrence between both of us. And as we kept doing this, as we exchanged information, as we got information that was stable and safe, and this is what would happen if I did this, is how it would actually go. As long as it stays consistent, as long as it stays going, it gets harder and it becomes more material, more experienceable. And then as it keeps going, because we keep adding input and it keeps calculating what would happen and making itself stable, it then becomes something that can actually occur in real life. But we're trying to keep this here And we're trying to say that this here is just being able to really experience it with our thoughts. This is time. This is the time board. It comprehends time. Particle motion, fluidity, etc. Okay, so this is what etc. is. Etc. is, if only one thing existed, we can never say how big it was, how long it's been there, yeah, that's it. We could never say its size or the time that existed, and it's probably some other stuff that, like, some logical stuff as well. But this is pretty much the argument that if only one thing existed, which something is, it's complex. I know the stuff. I don't want to tell you everything because, well, I do want to tell you everything, but pretty much, in order for there to be time, there has to be a true form of relativity. And what happens is, so something exists for a while, and once something else exists, we can now mark the first measurement of time, which is that this was first and this was second. That is the first relative measurement of time. And as we keep going, measurement becomes more stable. Like, as more things start to exist, you would think that it would stay, something was first and then something was second. But what actually happened is a measurement that would occur as an equal relativity. So as things become relative to each other, they are all also relative to each other. So this, at the same time that it's relative to that, this at the same time that it's relative to that, this is also relative to that, or that is also relative to this, creating an equal relativity that creates stable measurement over time. And so here we have stable storage and memory. The longer that things stay stable without colliding, without crashing, so pretty much the more that things are stable, the more that, so remember, the exploration operation is looking for a way to continue exploring, continue making new things. No matter how far you go, once you reach the edge of your understanding, you're just going to get frustrated there because there's still more that can happen. Well, how do I say this? If everything was just to stop right now and there would be nothing else to occur, and it was just like that, it would be impossible because there was something able to occur in the first place. How do I say this? It would still essentially be nothing happening. It would still essentially just be this, and it would just be sitting there stable, and it's just stable and nothing's happening. It's just stable and it's doing this, and so it would eventually turn into new stuff being possible and continuing out and all that stuff. And so what this does, what this is the longer that it's stable, the longer that it doesn't crash, the longer that it doesn't collide, the longer that it doesn't break apart, the longer that it avoids chaos, the longer that it can actually stay aware of itself, operate with itself, maintain consistency, maintain stability. This is why we're not inherently just suddenly becoming conscious and then going unconscious nonstop, right? So stable, inherently, this is the fact that the universe in itself is stable. The fact that my hand can stay here means that the universe itself can remember my hand staying here, and that's really what memory is. We can talk about brain neurology, we can talk about cells, etc., all that shit, right? But that's really what memory is. Things just being stable long enough to stay occurring is memory. That's physical memory. This is the particle arranger. This is the way that time actually operates in real life. I just comprehended it. Pretty much all history will be rearranged as more things exist, as more people exist, as more ideas, as more particles, etc. It'll rearrange history to be something that is effective for all modern particles today to continue surviving. And so regardless of what you've been told history is, regardless of what you think it is, in order for things to be more effective for any new particles or new people that exist later on, it will alter itself to a more stable history between all those things to create a better, healthier environment. This is called particle fluidity, in which all particles in space are constantly rearranging themselves, even at the historical level, to make itself more stable, more safe, more healthy, and therefore more frustrating to create more things that are pleasurable and fun. And this right here is the practical graphics board. You can see that I've created a dimension of thought here. You can say it's just a shadow, but you can also see that it looks like the shadow is lining out with the grid. I've created a dimension here that we can actually observe as occurring. Yes, it's just a shadow. Yes, it's just the construct. But here we can say that the shadow looks like it's actually following the construct. This is the dimension that we can actually say and observe is occurring. So this is a graphics board. It's a graphical graphics board. So all this together is justifying like basic stuff in the game, not in the game, but it's justifying basic stuff in a shared field that is actually affecting the real life environment more than I anticipated it. But I'm probably not going to do this. I probably am. It really depends on whether I want to or not. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still considering it. I'm going to do the right thing regardless. Yeah, so I'm going to do the right thing regardless. It doesn't matter. And I love you guys. I love this so much. And remember, because it actually exists, like if you were to come across this without any explanation and you just saw it, right, well, you would be all like, it's just a school project. No, a part of your brain would be all like, what the fuck, is he actually doing something? Frustration, is that actually doing something? The first step, frustration. Then logical possibility. I say something and now more things have become logically possible to you. Now your behaviors have found a new logically possible route. This is what's occurring with this etceteral machinery, etceteral devices, etc., whatever you want to call it. It is taking conscious energy and it is increasing logical occurrence, logical circulation, making more things possible within our shared experience and within space-time itself. And then what else? There's another thing I need to say. So like it existing allowed for the logic to flow through it to a point that because it actually physically occurred, the logic can continue to develop itself all over. I think I'm taking a break right now because I'm getting really hot though. I'm about to really explode.